Rob Lee here for Diablo Donuts. Diablo Donuts is a small batch artisan shop with good old-fashioned donuts with a twist. These ain't your daddy's donuts. Wrap your lips around some of our favorites like Infringement, a classic yeast donut smothered in caramel and toasted coconut finished with a dark chocolate drizzle. This might look like your favorite Girl Scout cookie. Also, the Captain Chesapeake, a Baltimore combination of caramel and Old-Bay seasoning. Don't forget the panty dropper, a maple glazed donut topped with bacon. These donuts are great and local AF. Place your order today at 410dough.com. Tell them Rob Lee sent you.
Only a couple months now. I think I recognize her.
Welcome to a brand new episode of Getting to the Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee, from Mastermind Team's Robcast and MTR Podcast and all of that good stuff. Today's guest is the co-owner of Fells Point Pastry Studio, Sacré Sucre. We have Manuel Sanchez. Thank you and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
This is great. I recently, during the COVID times, I recently went down to your shop with my partner, and we got some. How do you properly pronounce it? Macarons or macarons? How do you properly pronounce?
So that's actually a question that we get a lot.
See, I'm already starting off. See,
yeah. I usually tell people that it doesn't matter. Okay. I don't want to make it, macaron. So I guess to answer your question, it should be macaron. Okay. In French, the pronunciation would be like macaron.
Macaron?
Yeah. But I don't get offended if people call it macaroon, if they call them cookies. It doesn't matter because I wanted to make it more approachable, So for me, basically, they're cookies. So,
it just normalizes it. These are cookies. Enjoy.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people get too focused on proper pronunciation, and it, for me, we'll understand what you mean when you come into the store and ask for a macaroon, for example.
Yeah, I went there and I got a bunch. One of those days, and I've had I've had my fair amount of pastries here.
Okay,
I've enjoyed it. What you guys do is great, and I really like what you guys do. Got a nice variety there. So, let's step back a little bit because I'm leading the cart before the horse. Describe your background and training, and what was the inspiration behind Sacré Sucre?
Sure. So Sacré Sucre is composed of myself and my partner, and we started Sacré Sucre back in California in 2016. We had moved there for my job. At the time, I was doing computer engineering, which is actually what I went to school for. I did that for 8 years. I was doing cybersecurity, to be more specific.
Sure.
So, we never intended to have a pastry shop, to be honest. It wasn't as planned in the beginning. Obviously, after it takes on, then you start planning for it. But basically, so we lived in Baltimore for 8 to 10 years combined. And then we moved to California for briefly 2 years. And over there, my partner, Dane, he was looking for a job. He actually went to culinary school. And so it was a little harder for him to find something good in the area that we were in California. So we were in Northern California, but we weren't in the city. We were in the outside.
Okay.
So we started doing farmers markets, selling macarons. It was something that we always knew about, and we didn't actually like understand the craze behind them. And it wasn't until we went to France and we had a really, really good macaron over there that we really understood why they were so special. And then after that, going back home and trying to make them after failing for like 20 times, it became sort of like an obsession, and it became almost like a goal, like an unachievable goal at the time. So that's how it all started. It just kind of like grew from there, you know. So I'm someone who likes to figure out how things are made properly.
Sure.
So I'm not satisfied until I get something to its maximum expression, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess when we started making macarons, it was something with macarons, it's very obvious whether you get them or not, you know, versus, let's just say, I don't know, like a chocolate chip cookie, like there's millions of forms and shapes and they're all fine.
Sure, yeah.
But with macarons, like, it's very specific. If you don't get like this little thing on the shell, then they're not made right. If you don't have the perfect crunch, they're not made right. So it was like a very good example of how to keep trying until we got something decent. So going back to my background, basically, I went to school for computer engineering, but we always had, like baking projects in the weekend. That's actually how I would spend my weekends. I would spend my weekend trying to temper chocolate or trying to make a cake, or, we just always had projects, making jams, making fresh pasta, so things like that. And then I've always had cooking books and just sources to follow recipes and things like that. So I want to say it was sort of like a passion that I didn't know I had until the macaron triggered that.
So the macaron triggered that, and you were like, I'm not letting this cookie beat me.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to get this right, damn it.
Exactly.
So I like what you said there, that because I'm kind of a bit of a purist about certain things, and like one of my favorite places is New Orleans, and I go down there, good culture, good food, the whole thing, right? And I usually go down there for my birthday. So when someone does something, it's like, yeah, this is shrimp and grits, or this is gumbo. I was like, it is not. It's like, that's not canonical. That's not accurate.
Right.
Where's the andouille? Where's the sausage? Your roux is a little loose, and it's coming from I guess a place of, as you said with the cookie example, I've had various interpretations. Like my favorite cookie flat is going to be a chocolate chip walnut cookie. I love that cookie. It's a good combination, has the texture, all of that stuff. And I've had various interpretations of it, but generally any macaron I've had has been the same. It's been the same. It's got the dome. It's got like this, I guess it's the jam or what have you in the center.
Right.
And it works. It's not much deviation. The flavors may be different and so on, but the structure of it is the same. So what you're describing, and like, no, this is what this is.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, definitely.
So in that, being that I said the whole thing about being a purist,
Right.
What qualities does one look for in like French pastries? Like, because you guys, so what do you guys do there at Sacré Sucre? What pastries do you do in addition to the macarons?
So right now we're actually making more of the French classic pastries, like the millefeuille, which is also called Napoleon,
Yeah.
The opera cake.
Those are tasty.
Yeah. We make eclairs, which are also classic French.
Uh-huh.
Basically, we try to make like a good assortment of pastries. We also have tarts. You know, like for us, it's mainly, we don't make, let's just say, like a slice of cake, for example.
Right.
In our pastries, you will find cake, but it won't be the main attraction. It will just be a component. So we try to make, for example, the tart will have like 5-6 different components, and it may have a cake, or it may have the crust, it may have a cream, it may have a ganache, or things like that. You know, so there's no, I guess, there's no like quote unquote simple pastry.
I was waiting for you to say simplicity. I was like, okay, a little complicated pastries I'm hearing there.
Yeah. It's sort of like taking what you know how to make and just creating something with all of that. But I also don't like to say that we're a French bakery, because we wanted to change what a normal or regular French bakery is. You know, not because we're called like Sacré Sucré. It means that we're only going to make French pastries. That's not the case. We're just using those techniques, and like we're taking mostly from French pastries and just creating our own, and just taking that. And for example, we had a brownie when we first opened, you know, or we've made chocolate chip cookies, but always kind of like applying the techniques that you would find in French cuisine. But for me, we wanted to respect the tradition of making like something good, but it's not enough for us to just have you know, like the classic or the traditional. We wanted to give it a little bit, modernize it a little bit, you know, because when you go into French bakeries or French pastries, a lot of them have the same look and have the same style. Yeah. And that is true when you go to, let's just say, France, to certain neighborhoods, but there's also modernizing it, you know, making it not just a certain culture, but just like a modern version of what a bakery is, you know.
It's like one of those things where you're taking the techniques, and you're, as you touched on earlier, you're finding like how to do this and how to do it right, and then you're making it your own. Right. That's what I'm taking from what you're saying and what you're doing at Sacré Sucre.
Yes, correct.
So let's see what I have here. Actually, this is a question I thought was interesting. So with dessert, people have I think an emotional response to dessert. Like, man, I'm happy. This is going to be a great cake. Just the endorphins are popping, the whole thing. Like, what is like a memorable, like emotional, like, hell yeah, this is great that you've seen at either at your shop or that you've had when it comes to a dessert? Yeah.
Actually, yes. So I guess that's one of the things that because you've been to the shop, it's not a huge shop, and it's very open. Even though I'm in the kitchen, I'm still sort of like looking at people's reaction, right? So actually, one reaction that I was surprised was actually when we were making quiche, and so like I love when the customer gets what we're going for. And this guy was, eating the quiche, and the first try, his face sort of like lit up, his eyes opened, and I was watching from the register. And as soon as he took that first bite, he actually had to stand up and come talk to us and be like, wow, like this is extremely delicious. And that's reassuring when you do it. And I mean, that's my hope with everything we put out.
Yeah.
I think for us, it's very important that you do get that experience, and that's why I like to have, when we put out our pastries, I usually recommend back pre-COVID times, it would be better for us to have you here and have it here. Yeah. Because it's like the whole experience of, being in the shop, and we can engage with you in conversation, maybe give you like some tips on what the best ways to enjoy it, or things like that. Yeah. The pastries that we make, some of them are not made to go, like the main thought process is not thinking about people taking them to go. So that's a little bit of an issue for us with the COVID times, where everything has to be to go friendly. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a limitation, and a lot of people sometimes they DM us on Instagram or email us, and it's great to get feedback. At the same time, sometimes we don't get the feedback, and we're like, I don't know, like, is this going well, or should we try something different? It's hard.
I'll give you my feedback yet again. We got I think a dozen, and they didn't make it down the block with us, so we didn't have the to go. We ate those before we got to the car to go home. And I was like, well, I guess I'll be headed back soon.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
In the latter part of our conversation here, I want to talk about Baltimore a little bit, and I want to talk about I guess some of your preferences of the stuff that you made, some of the flavor combinations that you like. So I'm going to start off with the Baltimore questions. You touched on it a bit earlier. It was more of coming back to Baltimore, but what was the other motivation or inspiration in opening up the shop in Baltimore?
When we left for California, it was almost like we never left Baltimore. My coworkers were probably tired of hearing me talk about Baltimore, because we were number one fans. It felt like home. It felt like, just the place that we connected with the most. So we really wanted to come back, first because we wanted to be here, but also because when we were here, we saw a need for something like this in Baltimore. Not that Baltimore, quote unquote, needs us, but just from the choices that I remember having when I was here, I remember going to other places, even smaller cities, and I remember seeing really nice pastry shops, and I'm like, why can't we have this in Baltimore, Yeah. And so that was one of the motivations. So it was combined, it was personal reasons, and also just the thought of we want to have good things and nice things. And if I'm going to invest in putting a shop somewhere, then I think, Baltimore would be a good place, because we should have nice shops. We should have the quality of pastries, like it should be better.
That's great. I've I've noticed that it's just certain things we don't have. Like, I remember spending time in like cities that are relatively close, New York, Philly, and so on. And it's like, oh, I can just go over here and, oh, look, I can get this opera cake, or I can try this. And it's like, what do we have in Baltimore? And, luckily finding a place like your place, and I'm relatively close to it. So like finding a place like yours, it's like, okay, now I can, scratch that itch, that dessert itch that I have, that pastry itch that I have. And it's great that you guys decided to open up here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Let's see. I have one last question, and I'm going to give you some shameless plug opportunity. Tell everybody what you got going on, and how they can check you guys out. Because I think you have like some online stuff. But so let's see. You mentioned cybersecurity, right? So your stuff is art to me. I'm just going to call it what it is. Like what you guys do is art. What other creative things that you do? Because you mentioned you used to do the cooking and stuff like that on the weekend. So what other stuff? Were you a painter? What else is going on? That you got some artistic skills there. So what else you got going on?
Well, actually, that's funny that you asked that question, because I don't quite consider myself, I get that what we're doing is art. And I guess that's what I like about pastries. You get both worlds. But like during my computer time, I was like missing more creative outlet. It was all like technology, very sort of like robotic in one sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So the baking was a more creative outlet. I can, I guess, talk about us in general.
Sure.
It doesn't matter what it is, if we want to do something, we just sort of like figure it out. Nowadays, you have a lot of information. You have like books, online, videos. So you can learn pretty much anything you want. In particular, I've always been drawn to fashion. So if it's anything related to art, like that would be my world. I followed fashion very closely, so that's kind of like the art that I like. Dane, for example, he's very crafty, so he basically sews at home. So he made all of our aprons. He made backpacks and things like that. For the shop, there's a design on the wall, on the retail wall, that he also handmade. So basically, we basically like to be very hands-on with what we're doing. There's never going to be a time where I hire someone to do something for me and I'm like, if I'm not there, if I'm not like involved in what's going on, then I don't feel like I actually made it. Like it's not mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other thing is, just in general, like, so my brother is actually a photographer.
Okay.
And he's an artist. And so we also get like feedback from him. And we try to, nowadays with taking pictures of the pastries, you have to take good pictures.
Yes, you do.
So, and that takes a lot of time. So we So I take the pictures and then I send it to him and be like, what do you think about this? Is the lighting good? Is it not? So I guess in general, just having an artistic eye from the beginning, not specifically like working as an artist full time before this, but definitely like it was sort of like always there, present. Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I mean, just being able to examine it, get the feedback, and just have that artistic inclination, like, you know what you want. And I dig that. I know it looks good.
Yeah.
Then the last question I had, well, not even a question. It's here's your time. Here's the floor. What do you got going on? Where can he find you? Social media, all of that stuff. And again, thank you for coming on.
Oh, sure. So we're on all social media platforms. Instagram, it's SACRE Sucre. Facebook. We just recently started doing online ordering, which we didn't have. So if you go to shop.sacresucre.com, you can submit your order and you can pick it up later that day. So it's very convenient because a lot of people are working during the day, so they can't come. Most of the days we do sell out pretty quick. So I would recommend, if there's something that you really want, just go in there and reserve it. And then we also have outdoor seating now, which we didn't have before. So if you're not sure, or if you don't want to buy a pastry that you think it might break on the way home, you can still sit here and enjoy it.
That's a big win. I like the new news, because now I have a reason to come back over there this week. I was going to wait until next week. Now I'm going to come over there this week. See, it was tricky. That was tricky on your part. So again, I want to thank you for coming on. This has been a sweet treat. And this has been a lot of fun for me. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So for Manuel Sanchez from Sacré Sucre, I am Rob Lee, saying that there is art in and around Baltimore. All you have to do is look for it.